Welcome back to the Tara Palmeri Show. The House Oversight Committee dropped 19 new photos from the Epstein estate. These aren't the Epstein files. These are just documents handed over from the Epstein estate. And they show a lot of the faces of Epstein's closest friends, like Bill Gates, Bill Clinton, Steve Bannon, the former Prince Andrew, even King Charles in one of these pictures, Richard Branson, Alan Dershowitz, and of course, President Trump. Now, these are all men who are on the flight logs. They're in the little black book. We've seen them exchange emails with Epstein. We know they were his friends. So none of it is too surprising. A few of them are new, but for the most part, they're pictures I've seen before, but I've also been knee deep in this story for a really long time. The interesting thing is that the pictures of President Trump, they're all a bit more suggestive than the others. They're all mostly with women. One is at the 1997 Victoria's Secret's fashion show. There's another one where he is surrounded by women and their faces are all blacked out, obviously redacted by the House Democrats. There's a weird Donald Trump condom too that says I'm huge. It's some sort of gag, I guess. Of course, the White House is calling it a hoax, and they're accusing Democrats of cherry picking pictures. I don't know how the actual pictures are a hoax. To me, seeing is believing for a lot of people who question whether he was close with Jeffrey Epstein. I mean, look at all the pictures of them together. They're friends. He seems happy. He does not seem like he was being forced to hang out with Jeffrey Epstein. But I do want to quote Caroline Leavitt, the spokesperson for the White House. This is just mind-blowing what she said. The Trump administration has done more for Epstein's victims than Democrats ever have by repeatedly calling for transparency. What? What universe does she live on? He has literally been saying this should go away. It's a hoax. I don't want anything to do with this. And bullying members to not vote to release the Epstein files for months. Transparency? No, he wanted this to go away. But, take a look at some of these pictures. There isn't that much new in this dump, at least not for people who have been following closely. I wasn't really too surprised, but I'm going to talk about all of this, what it all means. Remember, these aren't the Epstein files. These are just documents that were handed over, subpoenaed documents from Epstein's estate to the House Oversight Committee. And we do have a week away. The actual files they're due. Will they be ready? Will we see them? Will they be completely, transparent? Or will it be mostly redacted? I'm going to talk about all of that with V. You know her, Under the Desk News. She's a huge star, and she seems to really always get to the heart of the issue. So take a listen here.
Folks who are just joining, thank you for joining me and Tara Palmeri. Tara Palmeri, hottest ticket on the Epstein drop days. Everybody tries to get Tara on their show for Epstein drop days. And I'm so glad that you always make the time for us. As we were just chatting, next Friday is allegedly when the DOJ has to drop the Epstein files, which are separate from the estate photos that we got today, right?
Yeah, they are. This is totally different. These are just basically the pictures that Epstein would hang around his house or held onto for probably a blackmail at some point. Who knows? But this is not the Epstein files. This is just, I've seen a lot of these pictures. Some of them are new, but it's like, if seeing is believing, then here you go. These are his friends. These are the guys in the flight logs. I mean, these are people who are in the black book. These are people who spent time with him, who emailed with him. This is his life. This is his universe. So there you go. Anyone who wants to be like, I was forced to hang out with Epstein against my will. Everybody looks pretty freaking happy right there. And, particularly the pictures of President Trump, he's the one who's with women in these pictures. The Victoria's Secret model in 1997 at the show. He, is pictured with a number of women. We don't know who they are. Their faces are blacked out, obviously, to protect their identities. Then on the flight, I'm assuming it's the Lolita Express because he used to, use his jet to go down to Palm Beach. So, doesn't look like he's hanging out with Epstein against his will. Neither do the rest of them. They all look very comfy and cozy with him.
Well, I think that is the greater purpose in these particular photos, because I got to meet with Robert Garcia and ask him, like, how are you making decisions about what to release and when? And he's like, it's our goal to release everything that we have to the public as we are able to vet it as appropriate and make sure we're not breaking any laws by posting some of these pictures, because some of them are really awful, and making sure that the victims are, of course, protected. And to me, this completely kills the narrative that any of these people were unaware of what Jeffrey Epstein was doing, or that it was awkward for them. Their posture in the pictures, like even Steve Bannon, he's leaned back. He's very comfortable there. It's clear it wasn't his first time. And then there are pictures of what to me appear to be very young women everywhere.
Yes.
They're hanging on the wall. They're on his desk. There are pictures of children everywhere. There is no way that you could say, I didn't find it weird at his house, at least.
No, I mean, that was one thing that Virginia Giuffre always said to me. You could not walk into this man's house and not think it was creepy. She said the girls walked around naked often, especially at the Palm Beach house. He liked tan bodies with no tan lines. And there were pictures of young girls all over the house, like on the walls. And he's an older man hanging out with all of these young girls. It's weird.
Mm-hmm.
And like, even Michael Wolff in his piece, he was like, he said that he basically wrote in his piece that he let Epstein see in advance, breaking basically every journalistic rule, that he he always has women around him. I mean, he called them women. That may have been a stylistic choice. But this was Jeffrey Epstein. His world was about being around young girls. Like, that was what made him cool. Like, that's why you wanted to go hang out with Jeffrey Epstein, because he lived like The Bachelor. And someone like Bill Gates wanted to hang out there at night.
I'm very interested in that, because Bill Gates is one of the only people who has ever sent me a cease and desist before. And it was a long time ago, and it came from a woman at his desk who said that the way I had made a TikTok, I said that Bill Gates was on the island and he wasn't on the island, and they wanted a retraction. That Bill Gates was not on the island, and but he was, of course, in his company, and that mattered to them. And it's the only one I ever got, and I ignored it because I was panicked. And when I panic, that's what I do. I ignore things. But then, years ago, and nothing ever happened. Nothing ever happened. But I was like, whoa, he saw my little TikTok. This was way before I was like anything. I was like, they really are monitoring to see where his name shows up and everything. And his wife
was a huge hit to him.
Like an egregious offense in their marriage that was related to him. I have to wonder, like, what does that mean?
Well, first of all, I think a lot of people saw that you are a star. You are extremely charismatic, and I think for him too, he saw the bubbling up of the story and the relevance, and so he's tried to zap it any way he could. And he's had to pay a really big price for it, deservingly. And I think and that's why these pictures are so important, because for everyone who wants to call it a hoax, you have to be able to see Epstein in his element and the men around him in his element, all seeming very quite comfortable.
One of the things that I'm waiting to come out is the financial records, and that's what we've been really digging into over here, and that takes a really long time. And the thing that I keep running into that maybe a little bit more about is, like, they sold the Palm Beach house to some guy, right? And I'm like, okay, somebody was going to buy. People buy terrible properties all the time. But then that guy bulldozed that house, right? And then he built on top of it. Like, in every case, it seems like when they bought, the guy who bought the Epstein townhouse in New York City had it fully gutted before he did anything. And it feels a little bit like destroying evidence to me, more than like trying to make a better situation out of a bad place. What do you think about, like, the turnover of his houses and these, like, crime scenes and the way they've been sort of like bleached out by the folks who have purchased them? You think I'm overreacting?
No, I think they probably saw that the value of the house being like erected and having that juju was probably going to be bad for the value of the actual place. And also, it was waterfront property in Palm Beach, so they were probably just like, let's raise this. And mostly what, like, really rich people just want their own thing. Like, they don't want somebody else's house. They want their own house. So You know, I
One
don't know.
conspiracy down. It wasn't that they're
You
because I'm
could be
so
right,
interested in
but
Zorro
I
Ranch
just
too. Like, what the hell's going on out there?
in case a state is just we need to get through this in a
Yeah.
way that they're lawyers. Like they
Just figure
probably
some.
they have a problematic client.
Well,
Yeah, no, I do think it's interesting though. I mean, who knows? I do. The thing that was super fascinating to me too was like the fight between Trump and Epstein over real estate, the House of Friends, which broke them up allegedly, and then you know Trump was pissed because Epstein bid on the same place and it made him pay more, and Trump is cheap and didn't want to pay more for the house. But he ends up flipping it a year later to some Russian oligarch for like double $96 million, something he paid $30 million for, $40 million for. Not a year. It may have been more than that, but it was like
it was
very
quick.
short period of time. Yeah, it was not like he had to hold on this for decades. It's almost like, well, what's going on there, kids?
Well, let me
You know?
ask you, now that we've debunked one of my conspiracy theories, the internet has some conspiracies about some of these photos. And so, like this one here,
Yeah.
people think that's Pam Bondi.
No, it's not.
Okay,
I think
moving on.
I don't think it's
I
Pam
didn't think
Bondi.
so either. I get that she's a blonde woman, whatever, but I was like, that doesn't really look like Pam Bondi to me. But
I think I know who that girl is, to be honest. Like if I from the like her hairline and the shape. Yeah, I've seen pictures of her before.
do you think that they were asked to have their faces redacted in this way? Is it like,
I
because
think
some
they're
of
just
them
doing it to
aren't,
be
like, why
safe.
not this one, you know?
She's a famous model.
Oh, she's a famous model. So they're like,
Yeah.
okay, people know who that is.
Yeah, yeah, and that's like, on Getty. Like, that's the thing. I think only a few of these pictures are actually new. A
Yeah.
lot of them are public photos. I thought it was interesting that the House Oversight Committee chopped off King Charles out of one of the pictures, the one that former Prince Andrew is in.
He was in that one too? Uh-oh.
Yeah, and they like chopped his face out of it, which was
They redacted some stuff on that chalkboard too, that photo from the last drop had already been out without
yeah,
redactions. So there's some,
right.
yeah, goofy stuff going on. The other thing I found interesting was like their mannerisms in this photo. This is when they're staring at that model. And like, when do you ever see Jeffrey Epstein or Donald Trump tight-lipped? Like, what are they trying not to say to her? Or what are they, I don't know. There's just such awkwardness and so many stories, like even in the body language of these photos, that is just horrific. I mean, you've got Bill Clinton posing for a photo with Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein. Like, Bill Clinton was obviously very involved. This just looks like photo line to me, though. This doesn't look like anything
See, I think
crazy.
the blonde girl that's next to him seems like that might be the one that's also in the
In the other photo, right? Could
yeah,
be.
because of the hairline and like
Yeah.
yeah.
Maybe it was all the same night. I mean, it's still gross. But yeah, like the posture that these people have in these pictures is friendly. They're not threatened by him at all. They're not scared at all. They're very happy
No,
to
they're
be with
having a
Jeffrey
good
Epstein.
old time on
Having a
Epstein
great
Island.
time joking around. I don't know what the hell this was. Like, let's
Selfie? Let's do
a
it. Let's get ready
selfie.
together. Epstein
Steve Bannon
Bannon.
has one shirt. That's the only shirt he's ever worn in his friggin' life. Like, I just, the
When
Steve
is Steve
Bannon stuff. Can
Bannon
we talk
going to
about that?
release?
I'm not going to
Yeah,
show
when
the
is
sex pictures because they're disgusting. But there's pictures of really just unusual sex toys and different things that they were using that are there. I mean, this one's a little bit funny.
yeah, that one is weird.
Just
But God, yeah,
Woody Allen and Steve Bannon, and like, why is there a children's chalkboard behind them? Like, my niece has that, you know? It's like a
yeah,
little
no,
shorty
like
chalkboard.
it's not a place where you want your kids to be hanging out. But
No.
I think that, Steve Bannon is sitting on a lot of tapes right now.
Yeah. Can he be sequestered or whatever for these sequestered? Can he be subpoenaed for these?
He can be. Yeah. I mean, he
Why
might
don't
argue
they?
they're journalistic. That would be his reason to not hand them over.
But
And
he's,
Michael Wolff is still sitting on tapes, probably waiting for the highest bidder.
yeah.
We don't know what he's
Steve
holding on
Bannon's
to.
relationship with Epstein, is that something that you think people really knew a lot about ahead of time? Or is this something like you had heard? Is Steve involved in crimes, or was he like there trying to grift and make money off of genuinely being like a political consultant for him?
I just don't see I just didn't see in like any of the documents Steve in his universe until like after he went to prison. So like I don't know how long it had been. I think
Yeah.
to be honest, I could see Steve, being interested in Epstein and his money. And I could see Epstein seeing Steve as someone who's useful to get access to Trump. Because I ultimately think from reading those emails that Epstein was sad that as someone who was such like a connector and liked having access to the most powerful people in the world, that like he didn't have that with Trump and that he really underestimated Trump and didn't think that he could win the election. And then when he saw this guy who, was his friend and they became enemies, and to see him in the White House and have him be the one person that he doesn't have this sort of,
control over.
Control or relationship with. And then he's thinking to himself, like, well, I might have something on him, right? And how do I get to him? Bannon is the easiest conduit. So I think it was kind of a mutual relationship in which they could sort of, they both had reasons for their relationship.
Gross guys find each other, I guess. That's the lesson here. What do you think is not coming out? Like you've been following us for years and years. You're like the one, you knew Virginia. You've done several podcasts about this whole situation. When we hear Epstein drop comes out, to me, it always feels sort of new because I'm like, okay, well, what are they releasing now? Why is this coming out now? People go crazy. Are you disappointed with the stuff that gets released? Or like, is there something you're waiting for more that would like be like, okay, we're finally getting closer?
Yeah, I mean, so far I've been a little disappointed just because like I know a lot of the names of the perpetrators and you haven't seen them come out.
Right.
And that's what's been disappointing. So we'll see what happens on Friday. If any of the names of the men who have been accused will actually be revealed. I would like to see Virginia Giuffre's full docs revealed and unredacted. I think that'll be really illuminating to a lot of people.
And can't they do that because she's passed away now and Jeffrey Epstein's passed away now? Doesn't that sort of like free up some of the legalities of withholding this information?
A lot of men paid a lot of money to make sure their names were redacted from those files.
I see. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm hoping that we'll see that, but it's unclear if that'll actually happen. So it's crazy.
It's crazy. It is crazy times.
I don't know how they're going to do it by next Friday. It's Friday today. Literally, they are ordered to do it by Friday. They filed a letter, the Department of Justice, to Judges Engelmeyer and Berman. And they said, we're sorry that some of the documents that we handed over to the House Oversight Committee revealed the names of victims, but they were already revealed in another way. They didn't feel terrible about it, but they said, we're still compiling a list of victims right now. New victims are coming forward. They created a victim hotline, like an email now for them and new victims are coming forward. They don't have a master database. They don't even have a process for redactions. And they're a week away. And we've only seen such a small percentage of the 300 gigabytes of files that they have. So how are they all going to do this? I mean, they were working round the clock, nearly 1,000 agents, 24 hours a day back in March to try to redact Trump's name from a bunch of files before a Freedom of Information request was requested on Epstein.
Right.
And like, how are they going to go through 1,000 victims and do the same thing? That was one man's name.
Right.
They used 1,000 agents round the clock. What are they doing right now? I think what might happen is it's either really sloppy and you see the names of these victims being revealed and then they face like harassment and their identities being revealed in a way they didn't want. I mean, they have the right legally to be Jane Doe's. Or you see over redactions and it's basically what we've seen before, which is just like, what's the point? It's just like wallpaper of black lines. So that's something I fear. Or they ask for a delay, which in some ways I'd almost rather them ask for the delay so that they do it right.
Yeah.
Because I just don't know how they do it.
They're not putting money on this, though. Like you said, Trump is cheap. He already got his name off it. They're not putting money on this to do it the right way. But also, like,
what, they don't care about this. They don't care at all.
It doesn't help them whatsoever.
And also, are we really supposed to trust the Department of Justice after Pam Bondi said there are no third party perps. Wait, we're reopening the case again now to go after the
Wasn't that
Democratic ones.
crazy when
Yeah.
she was like, yeah, there's no perps. It was the Epstein thing. It's no big deal. 1,000 victims, but no Johns. Get the fuck out of here. Like, that is
Yeah.
crazy. Because they were saying there's like 95,000 photos that Robert Garcia has now and the House Democrats have. And I'm like, okay, if they have 95,000 photos from the Epstein estate, then what is 300 gigabytes of data look like? Like, what boxes, what physical evidence do they have? And where is it sitting in the DOJ? And like, we're supposed to trust her, Kash Patel. Like, do you think at some point somebody just leaks this? Like, I know that there are former FBI agents, journalists, different folks who have this information. Will somebody like Drudge report this, and that's how it gets filled in? And that's not fair either.
I mean, a lot of it's on Reddit already.
It is.
Yeah. I thought about that myself. I'm like, I know a lot of this stuff, and I'm like, should I just put it out there? But I'm also a journalist, so it's like I have to be careful. You know what I mean? I have to I can't just
Well, and put it out there for what, Tara? Under this administration, so you can be harassed and killed, and then they never do anything with the info. It's like, you have to. I understand you have to weigh that. Like, if I do this, what comes of it?
Right. And also that it's not that I have like Epstein files, I just have information that
you were her friend.
It's hard to back up because the person who gave me that information is now dead.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so, and yeah, it's really difficult. And like some of the names, for example, that she didn't even include in her book, Virginia Giuffre, like I was kind of, that was a disappointment to me. But I understand like that was on the publisher. They decided they didn't want to indemnify her for that.
Right.
So this is the world we live in, where like really powerful people can keep their names concealed, the crimes they committed concealed, and not pay anything at all. So
do you think this is going on to this day in some form? Certainly not at the Epstein level, but people who are freaks like that don't just stop being freaks like that. Like, if you're an addict or a weirdo, you're an addict and a weirdo forever. Like, do you think is there a danger in the fact that it could still be going on in some way because we're not getting accountability?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I do think so. Yeah, of course. I mean, it's also just a matter of people who believe they live above the law. So it's like they're breaking these kind of laws, like the worst, most heinous crimes. Like, what else are they doing? Yeah. And I just think it's demoralizing for society.
Yeah.
It's just not good precedent. Like, it's hard for the victims, like victims of any crimes. Why should they think that they are going to be heard? I mean, I don't think it's a safe time to go report a sex crime against someone powerful.
Right.
Hell no.
Right.
Like, you don't know what's going to happen to you. The Justice Department has shown that it does not care about justice. We're in a very weird time.
What do you think about Kavanaugh's name coming up?
What was that?
What do you think about Kavanaugh's name coming up in the emails? Brett Kavanaugh, they were talking about him being confirmed. It was a Steve Bannon Epstein conversation. He came up a couple times. I don't know. They didn't say Kavanaugh came to the island or anything like that. They were just interested in him as a sympathetic figure where he was being falsely accused by this woman. And it's sort of like what's happening to me, Jeffrey Epstein was apparently saying in these emails.
Jeffrey.
That he was watching the trial and watching Kavanaugh really made him feel like that's what's happening to me too. And it's crazy.
Is this for real? I mean, come on, people. Really? So basically what's happening is that this is like the victims. They're all victims. Epstein's a victim in his own eyes. Everybody's a victim in their own eyes, right?
Yep.
It's absurd. It's obscene. I don't know anymore. It's a scary world we live in. But the problem is that the victim class, the quote unquote victim class, they're all in power.
Right. I wonder if there's any crossover with Hugh Hefner and the Playboy Bunny of it all, or was that the West Coast sex crimes ring situation? Because they were operating essentially at the same time. Are we ever going to find out that Hugh Hefner and Jeffrey Epstein hung out together, or there was some sort of crossover between these models and the pageants? Growing up in the 90s was a weird time, man.
Well, here's my thought on Hugh Hefner. I mean, those girls were supposed to be adults, right? I mean, they were on TV. Yeah. And that was a place where, celebrities would go, and it was it was not a secret sex dungeon. I mean, it was so. I would assume that he wouldn't take on girls that were underage, but maybe
Yeah.
I'm wrong. I don't know that he had a pedophilia streak, so that's the other thing. But I could be wrong again. Rest in peace, Hugh. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
But I do think that with not so much the pageants, but more so the modeling industry
Yeah.
and the fact that Epstein had a modeling agency with Jean-Luc Brunel, who killed himself, MC squared, in a French prison mysteriously.
Right.
And they did bring a lot of girls from Eastern Europe to his house. In fact, one of the young girls that was interviewed by the cops said that Epstein would call one of the girls his sex slave. And they would come to this country being told they would become models. They would have their, passports taken from them. They don't have any money. They don't have anything. They become essentially sex slaves. And so that is how they have control. And so I do think the modeling agencies, beauty pageants, I guess, if they're teen beauty
Miss Teen
pageants,
USA.
I just think the entire beauty industry is really like scammy, and it's designed to prey on insecurity, and it's designed to create false promises and hope and escalation in status through, something that can be exploited. And so, I mean, I'm sure you could say that about a lot of industries, but it seems to prey on the young because, our society values youngness as beauty. So like you're putting kids in this situation where they think, I'm going to leave Slovenia,
Yeah.
or I'm going to leave
Literally.
I'm going to leave, small town Missouri and become a supermodel, and that's going to be my ticket out of town. And it leaves people vulnerable. I think, not to harp on anything, but if I could encourage young girls, I'd say go to school.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how pretty you are.
This is the anti-Erica Kirk channel right here. We are saying go to school to find a husband, go to school to find yourself and find your interests.
Yeah. To actually,
that's the actual way out is,
if you want safety in life, like true safety, security, you can only do that yourself.
Right.
Like, there really is no one else. And so like what Erica Kirk is preaching, which by the way, she didn't even live up to herself. I mean, she's covered in jewelry because she has a jewelry company, and now she's about to take over now she's about to be the CEO of a conservative company. Like, also, I love how they were like, oh, and like, girls, you should get married before you're 30. She met him in her 30s, and he was in his 20s, so they weren't even preaching. They weren't even practicing what they preach, by the way. She was living in New York City, the heathen capital of the world.
Selling real estate, no less. Like, she was doing fine. Yeah, it's like when Pete Hegseth and JD Vance say don't go to college, but they went to Yale and Princeton. Like, do as I say, not as I do.
And their wives work as like
extremely
top executives in television. Ambitious women who are on TV. Like, what's his name? Sean Duffy, the real world transposac, saying like, women should stay at home. Like, his wife's on Fox. I mean, I just get so annoyed.
She's from Real World too. She was originally famous for hooking up with Puck. That was her first claim to fame.
Classy. Love that these people are suddenly in power right now. They definitely weren't studying much.
No. If only they would have dressed up at the airport and could do a proper pull-up, we'd be in a perfect situation.
I'm so over it. And it's just like, if anyone is imbibing this and listening to it, they are giving up their own agency. And I don't know. I don't feel bad about myself that I'm a single woman. I feel freaking good, actually.
Yeah, because you're more than that, right? You have like a whole career in education. That's why I say education is actually your only way out.
I'm like, I can go do what I want tonight. I can choose my life and live it the way I want. Like, I don't need to, like, I mean, having children, it's fine. It's great. But like, I also feel like if I don't, like, doesn't mean I'm any less of a person. Like, my legacy will not just be whatever comes out of my legs. What goes in my legs. You know what I mean?
It's good. Yeah, we could be more than did we have children or not, for sure. This is the thing I try to teach, like, my nieces and nephews, and I worry about because they want to be content creators, right? Like, all the kids in my life see what I do, and they're like, I want to be a YouTuber. I want to be a content creator. I'm like, oh, babes, Okay, but like you got to have like life experience to actually be good at the content thing. I think people think, oh, I could just make content, but it's like if you didn't live in the real world, then you have nothing to be relatable for online, which is why people like you, is because they feel like you're a real person with lived experience.
Right.
And I worry that what the pageant circuit promised young teenage girls like us in the 90s and early 2000s is what content creation is promising them now. Sign with us, go to this hype house, do these things. We're hearing about like, have you heard of bop houses? Do you know what this
No,
is?
I
Oh,
don't.
Tara. So it's essentially like OnlyFans. You know, like you turn 18 and you join a bop house and they are doing OnlyFans
Why
stuff.
does everything get exploited? Jesus.
You
It
can't just be
really does.
young and happy and people and
No,
they are making
everything.
money. I mean, they're making crazy money, but like there's one creator that I really like that speaks out against her experience having gone through it, and she's like, nothing bad happened to me. I don't have anything where I say, oh, I was assaulted or anything happened. She's like, but I will never be able to go the rest of my life and say that I didn't have sex for money. And that's something you need to know when you make these choices and you're young, is like, do you want to spend the rest of your life being able to say I never had sex for money, or do you want to say that you did? And there's no shame in sex work. You just need to make that decision for yourself because people will make that decision for you forever. You will never be able to not have done that if that's not something you've really like taken the time to think
Yeah.
about. Am I coming to this from an honest place? Is this something that I enjoy and I'm proud of and I'm going to work professionally in? Or is this something that people are promising me the whole world and I'm sort of making a short-term decision about? And that's what I worry about with content creator stuff, is this trafficking pipeline into like the new young Hollywood.
Yeah. I have to say, like, I don't, like I said, I don't have kids. Sure, I would have them, would love them, maybe. Yes, I would love the kids if
Yeah.
I had them. But like, you like your own kids, other people's kids. But if I will say, my parents were basically let me be raised by wolves. They didn't do much, but I will give them credit. They were never complimentary about anything. And I'm so happy that they told me I couldn't do shit in life and I had to prove them wrong.
Yeah.
Um, and then I'm also really happy that they never praised me for my appearance or told me that I should use it in any way to get
Yeah.
something in life. And I think young women need to be reminded that they are more than just their like
Yeah.
their looks. They are have to be reminded that they are more than the person they marry. They have to be like I just and I know and I'm sure this applies to men too, but I only have the female experience to reference. And I just see this that the messaging you're getting right now from like the conservative leaders about what
Yeah.
we should be. And it's just taking us back so far. And I don't know. I hope the creators don't get like dragged into some sort of idea that this is all glitz and glamour. It's
There are
really hard.
scary people everywhere. There are scary people everywhere. And, you know, Natalie came from like the child prodigy music world. And we have talked a lot about if we have kids. I'm like, well, would you want them to be musicians and do what you did? And she's like, yes. And we would get a hotel in town because you cannot just send your kid to these prodigy schools where they're told, do whatever the teacher says. Look what happened at Interlochen, which was a place that Jeffrey
Yeah.
Epstein was also involved in. She never went to that school. She was a Tanglewood person. I guess there's like different things, but
Yeah.
and she's like, nothing bad ever happened to me, but it's like you kind of knew it was happening around you, maybe to some other people. And it's just any of these things where you have young, talented, hungry people who are trying to get out of a bad situation with their family or sometimes a
Mm.
low income situation. And they want a bigger, better life for themselves. And they have a big dream. And some person with power and money wants a songbird. And so they're like, okay, I'll be your patron. And this is how
Yeah.
that's going to
They're
shake out for
encouraged
me.
to do that.
Yeah,
They're literally encouraged to look for patrons.
that's what she
And
said. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. If I was going to be a musician or a singer or an actor, how would you survive? I mean, if you don't have family
You can't.
support, you
Right.
can't. That's why it's all Nepo babies on TV.
It is, yeah, and with these
Yeah.
schools, it's like on certain scholarships, but then you're expected to perform at their private events because, "Oh, this is my protege, this is my mentee, this is my whatever." It's dangerous
Creepy.
out there, man. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Get
you're
a
supposed to
plumbing degree. Be an
you're supposed
engineer. Don't do
yeah,
anything.
trust, and you're supposed to trust your children
Yeah,
with the hands of other adults.
right.
I mean, it's a,
Strict time.
ugh, it's scary. I mean, listen, we at some point in your life, you do let your kids go. They go to college or they go wherever they want to go at 18 and they live their lives. But I do think under the age of 18, it's hard. And when they put so much in, they're ambitious. And
Of course.
One of my friends is an artist, and he said like Alen would come to their what was it called?
Like their exhibitions. Or...
Yeah, the school. I can't remember. It's a famous one too. And she would try to smell out artists who seemed desperate and needed money. And then that would be what she like sort of preyed on them. And he was lucky to come from a wealthy family, so he didn't have that same sort of feeling. But like not everyone is, have the lucky sperm,
Yeah.
So
a cello is $100,000 when you're at a professional level. Some of Natalie's bows are $40,000, $50,000. Like it's crazy. And then there's the training and the travel and the practice rooms. And it's a whole thing that like you have to work extremely hard. And she's lucky she got like a good job and she could swing it. But like not everybody has that. And she's like, it's very easy because the schools teach you to find rich people to make them love you, because that's the only way that a lot of folks can get in. One, that you can get cast sometimes, or you can get into places like Juilliard. Like surely it goes by your talent, but Jeffrey Epstein had sway on the board as well. Like it's a very tricky thing.
Well, that's what he would say. He'd be like, I can get you into Victoria's Secret. His best friend, Lex Wessner,
Lex Wessner
ran Victoria's Secret. It all made sense. Like all these girls, everybody with ambition, he could offer them something, except the price. Not worth it.
I know. We're going to see more and more people come out. If you had any involvement in New York City in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, somebody that you know or somebody that you worked for was involved. We just saw, my cousin called me the other day because the restaurant group we worked for, the guy's name showed up in it. Not as anything necessarily bad, but that he would, make frequent reservations directly through this restaurant owner. And I was like, fuck, like that's crazy. And then when we think about like anytime a restaurant opened in New York City, they would hire models to walk around and do cocktail trays to present that. It's just like the Epstein thing that blows my mind is not just the violence of the crimes that we know about, but is the structure of how America was really built for these powerful people to exploit these generations. And I think it carries over into why we have so much anger over that, like, folks won't leave Congress on time, and that millennials and younger have never been able to like break this leash that they've kept everyone on. But
that they're forcing people into positions that they don't want to be in.
What do you consider next? Like, what are you working on right now? Like, what do you
I'm waiting on the files. I'm gonna like wait to see what actually is revealed and what isn't, and like try to put together the things that I know that haven't been revealed, and try to like really hold the government to account with this, so that like it's not just a bunch of black lines, so that people feel like they're getting answers. They're not left in the dark as they seem to always be with these dumps. So that's something I'm going to definitely work on. And I'll be here like analyzing and talking about the news as it comes out. I mean, I expect the next week is going to be really big. Whether they make the deadline or not, we're going to see things happening. And I assume there will be a lot of friction between Pam Bondi and FBI Director Kash Patel. That is going to be crazy.
Because Kash and Don Bongino made their whole careers on Epstein, on being like, release the files, release the files. There's this cadre of like Democrat child eaters out there.
I mean, there's going to be a lot of finger pointing as people are angry. And within the administration too, it's just a mess. So
I appreciate that you can always tell us what's not true, right? Like that's probably not Pam Bondi in that picture. That Hillary Clinton's probably not going to leave Bill over this drop. Although maybe she is. I don't know. That's the rumor on the street too.
I don't know.
I don't think so. She stuck with them through all that Monica Lewinsky time. And I'm sure she knows, whatever she knows about what was going on.
Oh yeah. She knows who her husband is. Most women do, right?
Yeah. So I'm like, thank you for coming in and helping us at least be calm with the information so we don't run down rabbit holes that we don't need to, and save our energy for like actual accountability.
I'll get the foghorn when it's time.
Okay, good. Make sure you're following Tara. She publishes the Red Letter weekly, several times a week, always doing great updates. You'll see her on CNN, MSNBC, Fox, everywhere talking about this. Was a dear friend and confidant of Virginia Giuffre, and we just all hope that, in her family gets the justice they deserve and that she couldn't get in life. So
and everyone please follow V. Sure, you already Under the Desk News is amazing. And really, I'm so in awe of everything you built and how just clairvoyant you are, and we make great content.
Dude,
I want to
I'm
be
just
more
a
like thee.
person. I want to be more like you. I'm like,
be more like thee. How do I do it?
we grow together, and everybody has strengths that work out. I'm just a yapper and a good friend, and I
No,
think
you're a
that
really,
people
really
need
good
good friends.
communicator.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're great. I'm really proud to know you.
Thanks. I know you. All right. Thanks, Tara. We'll see you later. Good luck with the rest of all your interviews today. Bye.
Okay, bye.
That was another episode of the Tara Palmeri Show. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you felt like you learned something. It's going to be a really wild week. The Epstein files are due to come out 1 week from today, from Friday. We'll see what happens, but I will be reporting on it every step of the way. And as you know, I reported 2 podcasts on Jeffrey Epstein, and I got to know Virginia Giuffre really well through it. Broken, Jeffrey Epstein, Empower the Maxwells. They're great briefers if you want to know more about this case. You can also just follow all of my exclusive reporting by going to tarapalmeri.com, and you can subscribe for my newsletter, The Red Letter. You can see all of my reporting, all of my exclusives as I focus in on the Jeffrey Epstein story, which is only going to get bigger in the next week. So please come back here and tell all of your friends about it. I want to thank my producer, Eric Abenatse. I want to thank Abby Baker, who does my social media and research. I want to thank Dan Rosen, my manager, and Adam Stewart on the graphics. See you again soon.